Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 3 of the podcast.
Welcome. Still got a name. Do not got a name. It's alright though, because we're filming podcasts.
We're doing it. We don't have a complete direction yet, so it's hard to come up with a name.
That's true. It just needs to be a real broad name, basic name.
Yeah. I mean, like the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a good name.
Huberman Lab.
But, I mean, that has direction, you know.
But he's, almost... Right, I get what you're saying. It'll come.
So, you worked out
Right.
while you were working out. Did any ideas come to you about schooling?
No.
Alright.
No. Yep.
So I decided for myself at least, definitely going to go to school. I know it was briefly mentioned that I need you guys to pay for it, but definitely going. I'm going to get a bachelor's degree in kinesiology with probably a minor in biology or nutrition, to be determined. What direction do you think you're going to be going with school?
It's a good question, and I don't have an answer.
Okay.
Because I want to be a scholarly man. I want to learn good things and be in a high institute of learning.
Yeah.
However, going to college is not necessary, but it is a route to do so. And there's a lot of pros and cons that I'd be weighing in my head. Like, what if I go to college for the wrong reason? Study the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
Or what if I get to where I'm going regardless, and I think, if I would have had a master's degree in agriculture, it would be easier for me to deal with these people that I'm having to deal with. So I'm weighing the two different sides. But regardless, I do want to focus. I want to focus all of my resources on education for this part of my life. Because you could focus all your resources on many different things. You could just go for like travel and entertainment, which is like the prescribed dose for 21-year-olds. Just live your life, basically.
Yeah. Go
travel around while you're young. Don't have responsibilities.
I don't want
to do that. I don't want to do that. The top two options would be go to school or build a business. Neither of those two do I have any idea on what that means, because that's two very broad things.
Yeah.
So to your question, what direction do I want to go in school? I would say if I was going to school, I would want it to be in the field of agriculture, food production, food science, nutrition, but more in the scope of agriculture economics, agriculture marketing, because the idea is that I want to build a knowledge base that allows me to put a alternate path for agriculture and big food in the world today, because that is where a lot of the problems are sourcing from. There's only like 4 food companies that own all of the food, and they literally control every person on the earth. And if you don't think that, just take 5 minutes and look into who owns all the food companies.
And it's all poison.
Basically 99% of it. There's like a small percentage of cool companies that people have made that are actually good, and there is like food products that they sell, but the vast majority is all poison. And I just think that there'd be a better way to do it. So whatever that course in continuing education would be to help assist me further down that path, I would like to take that course. From what the brief, tiny bit of research I've done today, there's many different ways to go about it. But like, if you wanted to go work for a big food company like Lay's or like Pepsi or like Coke, they hire a bunch of food scientists.
Yeah,
and that is and then they hire like food technologists, which create the machines. Food engineers or food technologists create the processing plants. Food engineers create all the machines that they use to process all the food. So there's certain, like, you have to build certain technology that adapts with the food. You can't just use like industrial. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's many different routes. I'm not really interested in that stuff as much as I guess I would be interested in. What I want to see an alternative that has a fighting chance to stay profitable while producing quality foods that fall into the line of permaculture, which are symbiotic with the earth and humans, so that we're not just destroying. Obviously, if we're going to starve, I would rather have animals die and the earth get hurt as opposed to us starve. Yeah. But we're not in that position right now. We have an abundance of technology and science and resources, so I don't think that that's the only option. And I guess what I'm getting to is the fact that I think that it is entirely possible to build a team of people that, with broad scope of education, because you couldn't know it all about microbiology and botany and agriculture and soil science, all the way up to the food science and food technology and food marketing and all the money finances behind it. You'd have to build a strong team to support that. Although there is farms coming out nowadays that are, the smaller they are, the more they can charge because the quality is higher. Yeah. And there's farms like that that are popping up.
But is your goal for quality, accessible food to be expensive, or is it to be accessible to everybody?
That's a great question. And the way that
because anybody who makes good money now has access to quality food.
Right.
If you want to spend the money, you can get it.
Right.
So, are you trying to solve the problem of everybody being able to get good food?
So I think I get your question, but I don't think it is the right question, and here's why. Because along the path of developing an alternative, at the beginning it is going to be expensive regardless, because you have to compete with the crazy prices of food, which right now the super highly processed foods are so preservable and so easily made that they're so cheap that that's what's everyone eating. Everyone is in that position that is eating. So my point in saying that is because, and the reason that I get your point, but I think that it's not the best question, because at the beginning it's going to be expensive, similar to how Teslas were super expensive and then they got cheaper. At the beginning, I assume, and this is just from what I'm thinking, once you build the systems, after they're profitable, then you could cut the price. Cheaper. Yes, but to your question, in the long run, yes, the goal would be to make it so instead of your only options when you're in a small town are McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, all these shitty ass foods that are poisoned, you could have another alternative, which is the deal is that people trade their convenience for health, so it would have to be bordering on the line of more convenient but less poison. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, I don't even know. I'm just weighing what the best path to take for that would be.
Yeah. Partially, what I was envisioning, which it is your vision, but was not that you're going to be competing with McDonald's and Taco Bell and Burger King, but rather you're going to be supplying McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Burger King with more local, higher quality food.
Right.
Which helps
right.
keep the price down if they already, because they have the systems.
Yeah.
If you just figure out how to get the local food that's higher quality to them at a cheaper price, make it efficable, if that's a word.
Yeah.
I think for them to actually use the food that you're providing and then keep their prices similar to what they are.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, and that does make a lot of sense, and I agree with that, because the issue's not the front of the line restaurants or food grocery stores, and it's not even the labels, it's not even the manufacturing plants, it's the big companies that are encapsulating all of that, the big umbrella companies that own hundreds of different brands, and that is what you'd be competing with. So yeah, that is important distinction.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, and I think that, at least from what I'm seeing, because there's restaurants in Utah, for example, that only get their food from Utah.
True.
And you know what I mean. So there's people that are doing that type of stuff right now, but
It's been a group text.
yeah, it was. But I guess I just need to do much more deep work and actually figuring out a clear vision of what it is that I want to see happen and devise a plan to get there. And once I'm on that path, then I would be able to better choose a continuing education.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason, part of the problem is the education. I mean, the American Food Association, or what is it? It's not the FDA.
That's a thing. There's American Food Association, USDA, FDA.
It might be American Food Association. Whoever created, or I'm not sure who it is, but it's whoever created the food pyramid. Like, they're paid off by the big food companies.
Definitely.
Yes. So the education, even though like the people in college may be wanting to produce good, healthy results for everyone, it doesn't really matter. Like, it does. It's awesome that they're learning new things, and obviously they're doing studies on new chemicals and things like that help people, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
But the system in itself is flawed to the point where I don't know how much a college degree would be able to change the actual system itself. But that doesn't mean that it wouldn't. That doesn't mean that it wouldn't help, because I'm sure that the education that you'd gain would still be valuable. So yeah, I guess I just have much more research to do, and looking into. I mean, like the regulations for what kind of food you can sell are crazy too. Like, raw milk is illegal in more states than weed's illegal.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, my uncle can't sell. He has a dairy farm, goat dairy farm, and he can't sell dairy milk. He has to do it all under the table.
Yeah.
But everyone wants it, but they can't.
I was thinking about that very problem today.
Right.
Like, with water, they put chlorine in the water because it does kill bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they took 100,000 people, gave 100,000 people completely untreated water, they took our tap water, but instead of running it through a treatment facility, they just ran it straight to your pipe. You're going to have way more people get instant illnesses, instant deaths,
right,
from the bacteria with the milk thing.
Right.
The way milk is mass produced right now, if they weren't pasteurizing it, it would kill people.
I totally get what you're saying.
So
there has to be regulations.
There has to be those regulations, but if you're able to, instead of have the regulations be on the product itself and how it's produced, but rather the source of the product. If you were like, the regulations have to be on how these animals are raised. You can't have them be in fields and corrals where there's 1,000 other cows pooping on top of each other. Like, it's got to be healthy for the animal, which leads to healthier milk, which means that you can drink the milk if it's locally sourced and able to get to you quickly.
That's a good point.
So it's like
right,
solving the system again, deep into the system.
Right, because like the truth is that, and there's a quote from, I forgot what emperor of Rome it was, but he was talking about how if the people have bread and circuses, they're content.
Yeah.
The truth is that if you control the food supply, you control people. Like, money doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, if you can't buy food with it.
The home loans don't mean anything. Like, at the end of the day, the one thing that you actually have to have is food and water. Like, you can live without a house. People are doing it. Go to California. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can live with all of the things. But the one thing that I assume, and this is when I was younger and I was thinking about these big ideas about changing the food system, I was like, well, this is stupid. They're just going to kill me. Because I'm like, well, you're going to go up to them and say, you're wrong. I actually don't want you to control the food for the rest of the history for all the people in the world. Because to think it's just the United States is foolish. Yeah. I mean, where do we get most of our beef from? Brazil.
Different parts of the world.
Right. So it's a big thing. That's why I'm thinking that one approach would be building a network and marketing agency that would allow small farms around the country, right?
Yeah.
To develop an online presence, a social media presence, develop certain products, like have a food scientist go to their farm and have their products that they're producing tested and all of these things to see what they are ranking as, and then devise a plan for them to actually, like my uncle, he has a goat farm. What if his product was like goat soap, goat milk soap, or like whatever it is? They're like, hey, with this farm at this capacity, we could build a store for you, and you'd be able to sell this product, and we charge a fee to start it up and a monthly fee to maintenance the store, and it could be online, but you're going to have the option to actually make enough profit because farmers can't make enough profit unless, one thing that I learned, and this is a while ago, but like farmers get paid grants by the government to produce certain products.
Yeah.
So like if you go to Kansas, they grow all corn, right, or soybeans.
Yeah.
So they can't make enough money to grow anything else other than soybeans because that's what they're paying for. That's what so you have to come at them with an approach that would allow them to still make that much money or more, and be able to say, is this what you want to do though? Because you're the farmers, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't want to just be spraying glyphosate on corn for the rest of their lives. They've done it for like 3 generations, so that's what they think farming is, but that is not farming.
Yeah.
That's just freaking, you know what I mean? And I don't think that, like, in regard to the regulations and the current state of the mass-produced food, like, it's got us here. So I'm not saying it's completely fucked, because it has got us here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people have an abundance of food, but they also have abundance of illness. And I just like to create an alternative to start diminishing the amount of processed food and chemicals we're intaking and increase the amount of locally grown quality food from people that you live with, and then, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the approach, I got on a tangent, but the approach that I was thinking of is to have a direct effect in your community and country and state. You would allow the people to know what farms they have, so they know what they can get from the farm. You go to the farmer's market, you're like, dang, I didn't know that family had an apple orchard.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I know, like that one lady I met a year ago, she's the only lady I'm going to buy honey from for as long as I need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been doing it for like 7 years. So like, if you knew that, and then you knew that they had an actual product, because a lot of farms don't, they're just self-sustaining.
That's true.
But if they did have an actual product that they wanted to produce and they had pride in, then you could increase the value, because people would pay more for something. Like, you know, people pay $12 a gallon for milk if it's from a farm by them.
Yeah.
They do. Like, even though that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Because then at least that would be a start of diminishing the amount of poison that people are eating.
True.
Right? And that would take a lot of knowledge with... That's actually a good point. That raises a good point. Because that would take a lot of knowledge of... I wonder what that would be. Like a farm operator. There is that job that I was looking at, which is... Or farm manager.
It would fall under some sort of...
It's agriculture, yes. Yeah. Which, yeah, you go to school to be a major in agriculture, and then you get hired as a farm manager. But that is a good point, because I wouldn't want to be a farm manager. I just want to know how managing farms work, so I could go there with a team of people and be like...
Yeah.
The idea in my head that I have is like, you go to a farm, and you're like, here are different services we offer. We can have a content team come out and just film you guys content, and you can just have it, and you just pay for it, right? And then you can run it yourself. That's one level. We could have a team come out, and they go through all of your farm and see what you're able to produce as a product and build a store for you online, an online presence and a store, and get it FDA approved so that you're able to actually sell a product legally, right? Or you could say, that would be another service, or you could say, we're going to build an entire infrastructure from your farm. Content, social media, presence, brand, like a whole brand around their farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have content producing, like Redmond Farms does it. If you see their
Instagram,
they're crushing it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I was thinking, and that would be at least a step forward in the direction, because who knows? I mean, maybe if you think about it like this too, this is a good thing that I heard. It's actually, I forgot where I heard it from, but like processed food is cheaper, right? But is eating more expensive whole food cheaper throughout your life if you don't have to account for all of the medical expenses that you're going to have to pay for in the future?
the problem is...
You get my point?
Yeah, but one is predictable and the other is not.
Right. I'm sure there's statistics, though, that account for the amount of processed foods you eat throughout your total life, like just like how they do the cancer or the cigarette screening for life insurance. Like, they are able to predict pretty accurately. At least they take into account. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you
but
get
still,
my point.
Like even if somebody was like, your chance of dying 10 years shorter is this percentage higher if you eat processed foods, it's still like, again, your chance, this percentage.
I get what you're saying.
Whereas with buying the food right now, it's like, this right now is cheaper.
I get what you mean.
So it's hard for people to get behind that concept.
I do. I get what you're saying. And from what the media portrays, it seems that we're like super unhealthy and all of these things. But from what I see, and it's obviously I'm in my own bubble throughout life, but from what I see, people are more conscious than the media gives them credit.
Yeah.
Like, even though I know a bunch of unhealthy people, I'm surprised all the time when someone's like, oh yeah, like my brother did a freaking 30-day carnivore diet. And I was like, that I never would have expected that.
Yeah.
So people are more conscious than you expect.
Thanks, Joe Rogan.
So, yeah, that's a little bit about what I'm thinking about at the current moment, because this guy's going to school. Tell him what you're going to school for. Tell him what your mission is.
So I mentioned bachelor's in kinesiology, then it'll be 2.5 or 3 years to get your doctorate of physical therapy. And then probably get a PhD, start writing books. But the main goal is, quick story, this might be brought up again sometime in the future in the podcast, but when I was 18 years old, I had back surgery on my L5-S1 disc. Completely blown out. There was no rehabilitating it, unfortunately. But I do have a belief that had I the appropriate knowledge when I first started experiencing pain from it, I could have saved my back without having to have surgery. I do think that is true. So, one part of my mission is getting that knowledge and awareness out there. Actually, this idea came from my mother today.
Let's hear it.
Shout
Tammy.
out Tammy. But she was like, they do base screenings for breast cancer. They do base screenings for glaucoma. But they don't do base screenings for backs. Like, what if when everybody hits 18, you get an MRI for your back just to check it all out?
Right.
Base screening on it. And then that way, if you either A, will catch something there. Degenerative disc disease is very common in people, which means your discs are falling apart.
Is that what you had?
Not technically, no. But even if you have nothing...
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you have nothing, the next time you feel like you have back problems, you get another MRI, and now they can say, well, this is what you look like then. This is what you're looking like now. Gives you a better idea of figuring out what happened.
Yes.
So that's something that I'd like to try and get out there.
And if you had the, like how they, when you go to the doctor, they have your history.
Yeah.
Like if you went to a physical therapist, if some dude came to you in 10 years from now, you're a practicing physical therapist.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's all my MRI records, and this is what's going on. I have no idea what it looks like, but here you go.
Yeah.
And then you could be like, not only you have them sitting in front of you to run tests on, but you also are like, oh, well, looking right at this 3 years ago, what happened?
Yeah.
That's a great point.
So there's that. And then, for the instances like me, because some people do have an inciting incident, they go and try to deadlift something, they have to pick up a car to save a baby, and your back blows. And so that's not what happened to me. But if that does happen to somebody, you get to the point... You get to the point where you have to have surgery, and you have the surgery, then my next goal is, I want to make it so, even though you had to have back surgery, it does not change an aspect of your life. If you had a back surgery, if you have back surgery, I want to be able to rehabilitate you so you can go back to doing exactly what you were doing before. You had back surgery and you played football, I'm going to get you back to playing football. You had back surgery and you want to ride dirt bikes, I'm going to get you back to riding dirt bikes.
I see how there's that's a totally next level.
Yeah. Because, you can kind of do that now. Like, if you spend $100,000, you can get an artificial disc implanted in your back, and there's 2 hockey players in the NHL that have had that. Mm-hmm. But it's not really possible without spending a lot of money.
Like the knees over toes guy devised a plan.
Fixing the knees.
It's basically free as well.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you have a gym.
Yeah.
It's not like it's all mechanical things.
That's the thing.
Right.
You'll come to me, I'll teach you what to do, how to strengthen your core. And then, to the maximum topmost level of it, is figuring out a way to regenerate nucleic fluid that's lost in discs. Because when you have loss of disc space, that's what's happening. You're losing the nucleic fluid. Your discs are getting dehydrated.
Dang.
They don't have a way to fix that right now. There's no way to bring that back as far as science is concerned. So, I want to figure out how to do it, whether it's recreating nucleic fluid outside of the body and then implanting it, as well as along with stem cells or something at the same time to help repair the disc while it's going through filling back up. Problem is, if there's too much compression on the disc, it's not going to be able to swell up, but it's all going to be a big process. But if you could figure that out, then anybody like me would be able to go and have an operation done, and you'd be good as new. Oof. If I had that disc space back, I wouldn't have problems anymore.
So explain to me how that works, though. So you have your vertebrae, and you have discs in between them, and you have nucleic fluid around the discs.
Inside of the disc.
Inside of the disc.
Yeah.
And then, so when you say disc space, what does that mean?
Disc space is just the thickness, the width of your disc in between the vertebrae.
So what is a ruptured disc?
A ruptured disc. So a bulge disc means. I wish I had.
The disc is bulging out and hitting a nerve.
Well, yes, it can be hitting your nerve, but it's bulging out, but it hasn't broken.
Ruptured. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then a herniated disc is it's bulging out, it's torn, but it's not quite out of the disc yet. And then a ruptured disc is it's bulging out, it's torn apart, and the fluid is the whole disc is spilling out, essentially.
So that's very interesting. I would like to see what the actual physiology, I don't know if that's the term, looks like, because like how does it get the fluid in it in the first place? Do you have the same amount of fluid your whole life, or does it produce more? Like if the disc was healthy.
It doesn't produce more. People naturally end up losing disc space or fluid over time.
You're kidding.
No, it does happen a little bit to everybody, but
Jeez.
obviously at varying rates, and for some people they'll never have a problem with it in their lives, but that's why people get older, back problems become more prevalent. But if you have a strong core, you have a strong lower back, you have loose legs that you've been stretching your whole life, you're much less likely to have problems caused by it. Because loss of disc space doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have pain or problems. But it does increase the chance of you having pain or problems.
Right. Why would having stronger core help you?
Because it stabilizes your disc, and it also can help keep your core, your discs separate. It keeps them stabilized, twisting, turning, bending over.
So as your discs are, as they're, what is the term? Shrinking? And which happens throughout time. If you're have a strong core and strong stabilizing muscles, yes, even though they're shrinking, it's not gonna be smashing down on each other.
Yeah, it's not gonna be as much of a problem because it'll still be stable.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So a huge thing in prevention would be that type of protocol.
Yeah, you're much more likely to have back problems if you're overweight.
Really?
Significantly more likely. Because you're not going to have a strong core. You're going to just, every time you bend over, you have so much more force on your spine. It's just, being overweight is going to exacerbate
What are the muscles around your spine? Because I was doing bent over barbell rows just a minute ago, and whenever you bend over, it's not just doing rows, it's whenever you have a weight in front of you and you bend over it, I can feel my spine, like, because I'm holding it straight, and I can feel like around my lower back and my spine like get stronger. I don't know if that makes sense at all. Oh, it's called your posterior chain. I just remembered that. Right. What is the posterior chain?
I'm not 100% positive.
I thought, okay, yeah, because I asked that question, but then I just remembered an answer. So, just check out the posterior chain.
Yeah. As far as muscles around your spine, it's probably different because you have your thoracic, lumbar, and Socratic. So
I see.
L5S1, my lumbar, it's right between my lumbar spine and my Socratic, which is like your tailbone.
How long is a tailbone? Where does that start at?
Well, pretty much you feel the bone.
Right.
Like you feel the little dip at the top of your butt crack. And it's probably like one disc above that, I'd say.
Oh, so that's not a big section?
No, it's the smallest section for sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always, not always, mostly lower back? Or is there mid-back?
As far as
the common disc compression?
Yeah, I'd say it's usually
issues.
Lower back. I did hear like somebody we know from school, Addie Lars, she had a bulge disc in her neck.
Oh, jeez.
Which you don't hear about that very often.
She must have had some incident or something?
Probably something with drill or cheer.
Got dropped out of her head.
Yeah, I'd say so. But usually I think it is lower back because a lot of your problems start with the lower half of your body. So you got tight calves, you got tight quads, you got tight hamstrings, tight hip flexors, tight hips, tight lower back muscles, and it goes up from there. Most people have tight legs, have a tight lower body, and that pulls on your lower back.
Yeah.
So it's more common to have lower back pain than upper back.
So there would be many different modalities that you could go through to release the tension in your lower body, which would, as an effect, fix your posture and fix the way that create more strength in the stabilizing muscles.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's so you got, is it it is an interest? Is it? Oh, it's a need. You have out of necessity, you have to learn about the back, and then since you've had to learn about it, you got to a point where you know a bunch of information about it, and you feel like you have to do something about it, or walk me through that.
I feel like...
Or was there a want to be a physical therapist before your back issue?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not. And then I feel like if I had gone to a physical therapist early on in my back problems, it probably would have helped me a lot more. But like first people I went to were chiropractors. Didn't help at all.
Are they not real? From what I heard, they're fake.
They do go to 6 years of school.
Well, I mean, so do a lot of people.
Yeah. But people will go to the chiropractor expecting a miracle or magic, and the magic you're looking for is usually in the work you're trying to avoid. The work that they're trying to avoid is
the hours of stretching, going to the gym,
better diet.
That makes a lot of sense.
Whereas you go to a chiropractor and they're like, I'm going to crack you.
It's like the pill fix.
Exactly.
It's like, just take a pill.
And it doesn't fix. Like, yeah.
What about the videos, because it got all popular over the last few years, of like somebody coming in with a whole tweaked back, and after the end of it, he's like, I can stand up straight.
I think most of that's BS. I mean...
It seems like it. If I'm thinking about it, how could if you have super tense muscles and all these things that aren't aligned?
Yeah, what is a chiropractor going to do? Like, if you want the chiropractor to work well, you would have to be stretching the whole time. Maybe getting frequent massages. Get a massage, then go to your chiropractor visit, then have them adjust you. Because if your muscles are used to being in a position and they're tense, and they pop you, and even if it does get you back into place somehow, if your muscles are just as tense, you're going to get pulled right back into that painful position.
Which would come from your habitual body movement. Sitting in your truck and driving like this for a trucker 12 hours a day for 40 years. As soon as you get adjusted and you get back in the truck and go like that for another 10 years.
You're going to have the same problem. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I feel like I'm sure there are certain problems that chiropractors are good for. I don't know what those might be, but I'm sure. Because if it was 110% bullshit, there wouldn't be chiropractors. If there was nothing about it that worked, then there wouldn't be chiropractors.
Yeah, maybe it's just the bit of belief in the patients, and they feel they like the crack.
Placebo. Yeah.
But okay, so back to why?
So for some reason I feel like I'm good at recalling information about this kind of thing, and it could be because of my interest, but I also get joy from doing that.
Joy from doing what?
Recalling the information to help people with it.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. And I also see it as an opportunity to do something worthwhile, help people out, make a career out of it, and possibly fix something that has been broken for a long time.
Right.
So
that's some solid stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a good source of fuel. You got a clear path of direction.
Yeah.
And you've got a big need. Like, there's a lot of people that if you actually devised a plan, I'm sure the knees over toes guy, I'm sure he's changed tons of people's lives.
Yeah.
People in the worst position and people in the best position. Just wanting to get strong, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a great thing. And you could come up with a bunch of new workouts and a bunch of new stretches and like actual protocol of how to go through. And then obviously case by case, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing all the information. Dang, yeah. So, and then, like, as a physical therapist, you can't prescribe drugs, but you can suggest a protocol.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, I'm curious about, like, as a practicing physical therapist, if somebody came to me, because I will say, like, my physical therapists were all like, "Are you drinking a lot of water?" Yeah. Here, okay, we'll do these stretches, do this and this and that. So I'm like, what's the limit to the "are you drinking a lot of water" side of things? Like, can I be like, "Are you drinking alcohol? Are you using nicotine on the daily basis? Are you eating highly processed foods all the time? Are you eating hydrogenated seed oils from fast food all the time? Or are you drinking enough water? Are you drinking water that has electrolytes in it? Because if you're just drinking water without electrolytes, it's not getting transferred into your cells. Like, so what's the limit to what a physical therapist can say? And maybe the limit is the knowledge the physical therapist has.
Right. Maybe. That's a good. And
regardless, if they're like, you can't say as a practicing physical therapist nutrition advice, then I'll just be like, as a friend, this is what I'm recommending for you.
I can tell you what yes, that makes a lot of sense.
But either way, I think that's going to be a major part in what I'm trying to do, because there was a guy who was a chiropractor and a physical therapist that I went to one time, because he was hooked up with my brother, who was friends with this really famous. Anyways, went to the guy, and when I had my back problems in Austin, Texas, and he was like doing some things on me, and he was like, honestly, what I had to do to fix my back when I had problems like yours was change my diet. And at the time, I just did not understand what that meant. Didn't make any sense to me. I was like, what do you mean change your diet?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. But now, I do understand. And he also didn't really care to explain much more than that, but...
That makes sense. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that.
Dang.
And also, I do want to become a more scholarly man. I want to be better at speaking. I want to understand more words. I want to know better. I want to be better at math. I want to be better at writing. I want to be able to write a book about this stuff one day.
More well articulate yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Express your thoughts. I don't even know
if I said that right.
It sounded right. Yeah. Express my thoughts better.
And And be able to, yes.
So besides all of the physical therapy stuff, there's also that side of it too.
Right.
As well as making connections, doing something hard. It's not easy getting your bachelor's degree.
No.
Especially if you're actually
they definitely tell you what you need to know.
Yeah. But if you're really trying to learn and taking the harder of the classes and you're going in depth into everything.
Well, I'm just not trying to pass, actually trying to learn.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Through a lot of high school, I was just doing what I had to do to pass.
Yeah, that's where I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, dang, what if I actually wanted to learn it though?
Yeah.
Then I would actually be, which not all of it you're gonna want to learn. But if you, you still got a few years of brain development left. You built some very strong pathways that wanted to.
Yes, exactly.
And built some chemical dependencies on learning instead of distractions and procrastination.
We still have plenty of neuroplasticity.
Correct. You never don't, but it does diminish.
Got more when you're 21.
Yeah. That's fair. And one idea is like, you could think about people are intoxicated by their ideas and their thoughts. So like you can literally be addicted to just negative loops because you're getting all the chemicals met, so you're constantly in a state of reciprocation. You know what I mean? You have a reason to be mad, a reason to be sad, a reason to be happy. You don't really want to change anything, but that's all the subconscious tendencies. So building some new neural pathways, new chemical needs, and then getting those chemical needs met by something as positive as learning.
Yeah.
Yes, that's pretty cool. I think it's dope. I think that you're in a perfect position to crush it.
I think so too.
Yeah. You're in a perfect position to crush it. I mean, really. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
And like, I know everyone's parents say this to them, but
what do you say?
Maybe they don't.
What?
I'm sure a lot of parents do, but my parents my whole life were like, you're so smart. You have to be a doctor. You have to be a lawyer. You got to do something. And it's like, you're just like, yeah,
I could always
whatever.
see you going to college.
Yeah. Everyone's parents say that, but, I mean...
My mom meant it.
No, what I mean is, everybody probably is smart enough to do that.
Damn. That's true.
But they're just not applying themselves.
Yes.
So I want to apply myself.
There's not an information issue, there's an application issue.
Exactly.
That's good. And I think it's coming from a good place, and I think that if you didn't have back problems, you wouldn't have this fuel source to change it. The pain that I couldn't imagine that you'd feel at 18 getting a fucking ruptured disc and having to go through that for fucking however many years now. That's not something that you can just brush over. Like if God or the universe is giving you these fuel sources and he's like, you said you wanted to be a great man and I gave you that, and now you're just looking past it.
True.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That's super cool. I think it's dope. And I think that in today's world with people that are looking for an answer and wanting to make themselves better, which I think a lot of people are in that position, they might not know what exactly it is. Like if you broke down all the science, they'd be like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but I would like to be able to walk around with my wife when we're 60, 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool stuff. I think it's really good. Yeah, I do. So what's your next steps?
Next steps, getting enrolled for the spring semester of school, getting $3,150 saved up to pay for that year's tuition.
You got 3 months? Oh.
Easy.
You got that.
Then a little bit more for books and whatnot.
Right.
But
damn, that's dope. That's gotta feel nice.
it does feel nice.
Oh, I bet that's nice.
I have been quite directionless since I graduated high school. I was just like, I'm going to Oregon, but I didn't really know why.
Yeah.
I was just like, I gotta do something. I can't stay in Vernal.
If you were looking back on that chapter now, what would you say? If God's real and the idea that God is planning us all for a bigger meaning, why would He send you there? Why would God send you there? Or are you able to come up with a reason why yet?
Definitely some important lessons to learn. I think going through the back, like I thought going through my back stuff, I was like, it's not going to get worse than this. And it wasn't per se worse, but I definitely was, when I went to Oregon and for the 3 years after, I was definitely more depressed than I was with back pain. And I had to figure out why. And so I would say that's probably the reason.
Have you figured that out?
Yeah, I think mostly. Obviously, you're not ever going to have it completely figured out, but I have it figured out now more than then.
What have you figured out?
Well, you can't hide from your pain and emotions is
Right.
one. I was doing it through weed. This is the longest I've been sober off weed in 5 years. So there's that.
That's just that in itself is a big one.
Yeah.
Because I know people that have smoked for, I'm thinking one person in mind, I won't name them, but have smoked for their whole life, and they're 55. And that idea that you just explained is probably the reason they're in the place they're in right now.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's a huge one.
So there's that, and then it's like not having a direction at all is hard, because even right now, if times are tough, if you have a direction, if you have a goal,
you know why the times are tough.
Strive for the goal. You know why times are tough.
Is it, I'm just curious, is it that you don't have a direction or that you're not listening?
Probably that you're not listening to the direction.
Because every time I've thought, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do then? There's always something to do.
Yeah.
Even no matter where you are.
Yeah, avoiding.
Like, it's like, you need to leave
And then
this
you
party.
smoke weed and you don't think about it.
Exactly.
So.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah, doing the things that you know you need to do. Simple as that. I bet most people's depression, anxiety would be solved if they just
Right.
did the things they knew they
Right.
needed to do.
Yes.
So, but ultimately, if I had just decided to go to school, college, fresh out of high school, I would not have had the willpower. I would have not had the mindset. I would not have had even the idea of what I wanted to do.
Right.
To make it through something worthwhile.
Yes, that's a good point.
Whereas now I have
Yep.
those more than I did back then, for sure. I have a direction. I
Yep.
have a mindset. I have goals. I had none of that when I was 18. So, I'm grateful for that.
That's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm of the type of thinking that what you're going through is preparing you for what you could be most expressed, what the potential of you could be in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the highest version of yourself will have a totally skewed opinion of those events in 20 years from now. You know what I mean? Because it'll be like, no, this is what it was. But you get what I'm saying? But as of now, like that's cool that you're able to look at that stuff and see that.
So,
yeah. And then, what's next is you're getting enrolled, getting some money, gonna build a new routine.
Getting a routine dialed.
You can't miss.
That's the thing.
Yeah. You can't miss, which is good. Because, one thing I like thinking about is, like, what if you don't have a direction? Just start becoming the person that you needed when you were a kid, right? So for me, that was someone that just showed up because no one showed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, that would be dope if you just didn't miss. Like if you're just like, I'm just here. Like no matter, like I'll just show up. So, but yeah, that's super cool. I'm just going to check the time because I do have to leave in a bit.
Speaking of you having to leave and go to talk to your woman, we'll just touch on a subject.
Please do. We got 5 minutes.
I want to talk about love. How are you going to go and just love hard as fuck tonight? What are you going to do that's actually going to ignite a fire? Are you just going to show up and say, hey, babe? Or are you going to show up and are you going to pick her up and spin her around and kiss her all over her face and be like, I'm so happy I get to see you? I know one
idea. Yeah, that's good. Yep, that's good. I think for sure I'm going to take her shopping because she needs to get some stuff. So be taking her shopping.
Okay.
And then you're going to go get some dinner.
Bingo.
And I just think that throughout that process of me getting there, me picking her up, taking her shopping, going out to eat, taking her back to where she's staying, I think I'm just going to sprinkle and salt and pepper.
A little bit of love bombing.
Yeah, all these nice little, here's this, here's that.
Open her door.
I was thinking about this.
Heavy kiss on the cheek.
You know what I mean? You know, those little astonishing glances. I can't believe. Oh, yeah. You know, one thing I'll be saying that crushes.
What?
I love saying it. I'm like, She's like, what? And I'm like, I just gotta be to myself real quick. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I just gotta remind my old self on how good I got it right now. And she's like, what? And I'm like, he would be so proud of me. I was like,
that'll crush.
Oh, it crushes hard.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just treat her like a real gent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make her feel like a little bit of an angel.
For sure. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, go love bomb her hard as fuck.
That's what I'm gonna do.
I get secondhand joy from your experiences through this, so.
Dang, I don't know how I feel about that. All right, okay, that's kind of weird.
Hey, take it how you want, but
no, I get
seeing you happy, thinking about you making another woman happy instead of being a shitty boyfriend. That's, like.
Hey, well, I will say I try to be as receptive to advice as I possibly can, especially in an idea like a relationship, because all of my examples of relationships were horrible to the point where like They were so bad that is one thing that in my mind my whole life I've been like, I'm going to do my best to make it good.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I know how, so I do want some good advice.
Yeah.
So I'll go love real hard.
Love hard.
I've covered some good things.
Yep.
I don't know how long we've been going. Maybe it might even have been close to an hour.
Seems like it could be.
Good things. We got a good direction going.
Every pod keeps on getting better.
They do, yeah. And 3 now, and the flow's up.
Yeah.
We talked about becoming more interesting, and we already did that in one day.
One day.
We're filming them a day apart right now, but I don't know how we'll post them. We gotta figure that out. We gotta learn a bunch of things.
So much to learn.
But if you're watching this from the future, like 3 or 4 years from now, you can see that we didn't know what we were doing, and now when you're watching us, we do, and we're crushing it, and we're doing so much more than we could have expected. I just want to let you know that you can too.
Exactly. If you're seeing us 5 years, if you're seeing us in 2029, and you're like, wow, those guys are so good at podcasting, watch this, and you'll see we weren't, but we tried.
We didn't even know what we were doing.
It's practice.
So, looking out for you. Hope you're doing good, and this has been a good one. This has been a good one. Alrighty.
PCast out.
That's all. Thank you for watching.